I think about, the journey of it. It was such a slow burn for so long. And I talked myself out of doing it for so long. And then it was just like, well, why don't I just try it? And as silly as this is, it was like, why don't I do it? Because I know it's going to fail. So why don't I just do this and fail it so then I can do something else? Like, it was like, I just needed to let's just get this failure out of the way because it's annoying and it's expensive because I keep buying supplies. So like, let's just get this done. And then I'll get serious and I'll figure out my life. Like I did not start thinking it would work. And I don't recommend anybody starting anything with that mindset, but I just genuinely was like, it was almost like it was this nagging itch. I just had to be like, oh my God, we'll just do it. We'll try it, get it out of the way. And then I'll move on with my life and I'll get serious and I'll figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Welcome to Limitless, the podcast for cycle breakers, change makers, and conscious leaders who are done performing, proving, and pleasing, and are ready to live, lead, and create from deep alignment. I'm your host, Fiona Walsh. Every 2 weeks, I hold space for real soul-expanding conversations with guests who are still in it. They're navigating their biggest fears, shedding old identities, letting go of patterns that no longer serve them, and rising into their limitless potential. Together, we share what it's really like to be human. Messy, raw, imperfect, and learning to own every part of ourselves, even the ones we've tried to keep neatly tucked away. We go deep into the work of coming home to yourself, getting out of your head, feeling safe in your body, letting go of old stories, and creating a life that's true to who you really are. Subscribing to Limitless is the best way to make sure you never miss an episode. So hit pause and tap follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Because this isn't about doing more. It's actually about remembering who you are. And that's what makes you limitless. Welcome to Limitless. Today, I'm joined by Leah Yard. She's a jewellery designer, a founder, and one of the most quietly courageous humans I've had the pleasure of sitting down with. Now, Leah's story is not one that you'll expect. She grew up on a series of remote lighthouse islands and she was completely cut off from the world from the ages of 4 to 9. We talk about this in the episode. And she really had to rebuild her life after she went to school, dropped out, started working. Her story is somewhat incredible. And what I found most compelling about Leah and this connection we had on Limitless is not just what she's built from a business perspective, but how she's built herself or rebuilt herself along the way. She's someone who's done the real work, the heavy lifting internal work of moving from victim to creator, from a fixed story or a fixed mindset of I'm the weird island kid who'll never succeed, to living a life that is genuinely and unmistakably her own. And she's done it not by pretending that the hard parts do not exist, but by owning all of them and using them as her motivation or her driver to be successful. Now, this conversation weaves right into the heart of the Inner Freedom Method, which I do with clients in my coaching. This is a work we do together of identifying the stories that are running your life, running your inner world, moving you out of patterns that are keeping you small and stepping into the version of yourself who leads from truth rather than fear. And Leah is living proof of what becomes possible when you do this. This episode of Limitless is raw, real, it's warm, and it's full of moments which I think will land somewhere deep for you. I hope you love it as much as I did. Let's get into it. Leah, welcome to Limitless.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be on the show.
I'm so excited for our conversation today. So can you take us back to that turning point, pivot point moment or breaking point moment in your life where everything had to change?
I've had a few. So the one that is most, when I think of breaking point for me, that it seems most on the nose was we had just moved to Vancouver, had gone through a series of difficult challenges. I had a couple of really bad jobs at very toxic environments, had some family drama going on, had a death in the family. then dynamics changed in that. And I just had a complete mental breakdown. Like I developed a facial twitch. I couldn't see out of my left eye because my face would twitch so violently. I had a rash all over my body. And I was out of work for 10 months. So it was a massive, like, just complete breakdown. This was in my early 20s. And this was kind of the first moment where I knew something had to change in my life, but I had no idea what. And it wasn't like this happened and then all of a sudden I made these changes and everything was great. It took me like a good decade to like really learn lessons and get into personal development and, take responsibility for my life and all of that. So it's the moment that I remember the most because it was such a dark time in my life and such a turbulent time in my life, but also one that I'm so grateful for because when I look back, I don't even recognize that person that I was. I've had to do so much work to rebuild.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the shift for me. And it was around 24. I think I was, early 20s. And it just, that was the moment where it was just like, I'm not a strong enough person. Like I need to really build up some resiliency and figure out how I can actually move forward in my life. And then I started a business after that. And then you really learn resiliency and everything you're bad at. So my dreams came true there. Real quick.
I actually didn't realize that you started because I didn't have a breakdown, but I burnt out after having 3 kids in 2 years and trying to do the corporate warrior and be an amazing mom, and it just didn't work out. But I was the same after that. I was like, oh, I'm going to start a coaching and consulting business. And in hindsight, I'm like, what was I thinking? Clearly wasn't thinking. I was but I was making a step towards more alignment, which actually has created the life that I desired and wanted. So no regrets, but it's just so funny that I guess the unknown of entrepreneurship is probably a good thing because otherwise you may never actually step into it because there's just so much, as you say, learnings ahead of you. At that stage, and I know you're only early 20s, so you were still learning life and who you were. Did you have a clear view of what you desired your life to look and feel like?
No, I had a very I'll go back a little bit. So I had a very strange upbringing where we lived in very isolated environments and I didn't have a lot of exposure to the idea of entrepreneurship. I was raised to, believe that you go to school, you get a job and that's it. And like many of us, right? That was the clear path at that time. And I just didn't fit that mold. I had a lot of mental health challenges and I just could not do school. Since we lived in such remote areas, then I couldn't fit into, I didn't know how to socialize. I was a weirdo and really struggled. So I dropped out of high school, junior high school actually, and moved out and just worked entry-level jobs. And in my mind, that really was it for me. And that sounds bleak, but I was just going along the path that I had been told that was my choice. If you don't get an education, then you will not succeed in life. And so I just accepted that, well, this is it. And then later on, so I kept just working those kinds of jobs that I always felt like there was something more in me, but I always talked myself out of it because it was again, I looked at the facts around me and it was no, I didn't choose anything better for myself. So this is it. So I have to just settle into this life that I've chosen, this kind of dead end life. And then when I had my breakdown in my 20s, again, it was this nagging feeling of there's got to be more than this. There's this feeling of I didn't know what it was, but there's got to be more. I felt sounds so woo woo, but I felt like I was built for something bigger. And against all the advice and everyone around me telling me that I'd never be successful because of the choices I've made. I don't know. I just had this nagging feeling there's gotta be something more. So at that time, I didn't have a vision for my life or my future. I was still just applying for entry-level jobs but I just kind of had that little was like a little chip on my shoulder or something. It was something that was there that just kept me, I don't know. It was like I was aware that there was more. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was going to be, but it was like a nagging feeling. And when I look back now, you can connect the dots, you can kind of see what it was. But at that time, I just hadn't had the experience. I hadn't met another person who had built a business. I wasn't in that world. So it was all very new. That concept was just very foreign to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a nagging something there for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We've got two parts and I'm going to come back for one of them. I'm loving this. First part is, so it sounds like as a child, you grew up in like an isolated, like a remote environment.
Yeah.
I also am picking up on like you were very isolated yourself, like perhaps disconnected. You didn't feel like you belonged anywhere.
Yeah.
How has that isolation as a child inspired or transpired into who you are now as an adult?
I love that question. That little kid's still in there, like that feeling of like being on the outside, always being the weirdo. So we lived on a series of lighthouse islands growing up. It was from ages 4 to 9. So it was like you're completely isolated. Food and supplies arrive by helicopter once a month. You can't just get off the island. Like you're there. I have 2 older brothers, but I was the only girl. I was the youngest, and I always loved fashion. And I remember being on this island and not understanding why we were on this island.
Yeah.
And making, hats out of ferns and shoes out of egg cartons and jewelry out of shells, like just trying to express this thing that I had. And to my family, like fashion is just not, there is no value in fashion in my family. Like that is just seen as a very frivolous, like a waste in every single capacity, a waste of money, a waste of everything. So it was this kind of conflicting feeling of like, I love this thing, but it's kind of, demonized is a too extreme of a word, but it's not celebrated at home. And so I just always felt like a misfit. And then when we moved into civilization, I was definitely a misfit. I was the weird island kid. I didn't know who the Spice Girls were. I didn't know how to cross a street. I didn't know how to buy stuff in a store. Like I just was behind in every single capacity. And so that feeling has always been with me. And it's a double-edged sword because sometimes I do just feel completely misunderstood and on the outside. But other times I feel like it gives me a very unique perspective. So for one, I'm always behind. So I always have to work a lot harder because I'm trying to play catch up. I don't know a lot of pop culture references from that time. So like I have to like really to fit in or to figure something out or to learn something. I've got gaps in my education. I really have to double down if I'm going to learn something. And then it just gives a unique perspective in that I have a lot of empathy. I can see when people are a little bit, if I see that someone feels like they're on the outside, like I'm just very tuned into that. If I'm in social situations, I have very extreme social anxiety. And if I'm in situations where I see that someone's not included, like I just try very hard to make sure everyone's included. Whenever I host events with my brand, it's very important to me that it's a very welcoming experience. Like there's just values that are ingrained in me because of that. Like it has to be inclusive. Everyone has to feel like they are valued and that they are part of this community. So it's interesting how these things trickle in your life. And there's definitely challenges at a younger age, but I love the gifts that it has given me now, and I can see those come out in my brand.
Yeah, that's cool. You talked about missing probably like social and emotional education in many ways of like that you get from being with other humans and simple things like crossing the street, which we all take for granted. That is the most wild example, but I can understand if you lived on an island how that's the case. How have you worked through, like in your inner world, that story that you told yourself that you'd missed out? Because yes, you did for a part of your life, but that story hasn't shaped who you are today. So tell me the work that you did to rewrite, say, that story.
In my late 20s was kind of when I had my first introduction to personal development. And the family that I was growing up in, that was not like, even the term personal development, that was not a thing. That was way too woo woo. That would not have been like, no, that would have been seen as very like self, like too focused on yourself or something like this.
Almost.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So when I discovered it, it was like, oh, wow, we can get better. I genuinely like the idea of having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Yeah. I didn't even know the difference. And I very much had a fixed mindset. I thought this was who I am. This is what I'm going to be. This is it. And then once I discovered you can change and you can grow and get better and learn things, my whole world just changed. Like it was just, so then taking that story of I'm this misfit kid, I'm this weirdo from this island, I'll never be successful, I'm not educated. These are all the things I've been telling myself for a good portion of my life. I then took that and owned it and took responsibility. And it was like, instead of using that as an excuse and being a victim of like, oh, this is why I'm working minimum wage jobs. This is why I won't be successful. It's a great excuse. And I used it for a decade. Like it's a good story. But then once I realized it's up to me, nobody's coming to save me. Nobody cares. like you have to just take responsibility. And that was very difficult for me because I was so comfortable playing small because it's safe, it's familiar. What a great excuse. Like I didn't learn social skills, so that's why I can't be successful because I don't know how to relate to people. That's a great excuse. I've got a good story to back it up.
You could carry that on through for 70 years.
100%.
I wouldn't say happily, but you could.
Yeah. 100%. And so it's like, yes, and now what? Like, so maybe all that's true. And like, who does that help? Why does that? Like, I'm the only person that's going to suffer long term with that belief. So that was kind of where it all shifted when I started, I now have like a bookshelf full of personal development books and things that just really made me face my own thoughts, really made me face the belief system that I had been raised in and just, take responsibility, which is so difficult to do. And it is so painful. But then once you do it, it's very freeing. And the other thing is too, I've found that once you own the thing that you are maybe ashamed of or that makes you different, you remove all of the power it has over you because it's kind of like no one has any ammo now. Like what's someone going to say about me? Like, oh, you're a weirdo who lived on a lighthouse island. Yeah, I know. I talk about it all the time. Like there is this sort of empowering side to it as well. So it's very difficult to take responsibility. But then when you do and you use it as sort of fuel, it's not easy, but I have no regrets on going down that woo-woo route, we'll say.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because we all get stuck in victim mentality, even like you and I, who I'm sure have done a lot of work and we've got every personal development book under the sun and the podcast. And, I coach people in this, but I still have my moments.
100%.
What's something recently where you're like, oh, Leah, that's a little victim. How can we step out of this into more creator mode? How can I take responsibility for this story I'm telling myself?
I was rejected for 2 things this year. I can't share what they are because there are things I'm actively pursuing, but I got a couple of rejections and both of them were big things that I really wanted. And I slipped into that mode of like, oh, it's because I'm not cool enough. And
I'm the weirdo.
They don't, yes, they didn't, they just don't think that I'm like, up to their level because I don't have the right Instagram follower count, whatever. I just went in this little spiral and I let myself spiral. And got to like give yourself time, lick your wounds. And then I kind of just got to a point where it's like, okay, that's enough. You need to like move on.
Yeah.
With your life. But it does happen. Like it's not, 100% that like little, that icky, I feel that it's like a very specific feeling to me of when that voice comes up of like, I told you so. Like you aren't actually any better. You are still that weirdo. Like, see, you're still, it's that little, I don't know why we can't get rid of it fully, but it's so annoying. It's like,
and it takes you right back to being like 9 years old in that new
100%.
when you didn't know who the Spice Girls were.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's because our subconscious doesn't know points in time. It's just a memory bank.
Mm.
So you
Um,
literally, with your body, if your brain's trying to join dots between how you're feeling now as an adult and a similar thing in your memory bank, it doesn't know age or time. So that's why it feels so real for you now. So that, yeah,
mm.
it's once we know that, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like,
That's very, I've never heard it said that way. Thank you for sharing that because that is very helpful. It's like that's very comforting.
yeah. And it also helps us to be like really compassionate to ourselves because instead of being like, oh my God, you're an adult now, you shouldn't be feeling this way. It's like, no, that's that
Yeah.
9-year-old still. She didn't get it. And wouldn't expect her to get it when she was
Yeah.
9. So you can have so much self-compassion when you understand that, like as a
Mhm.
concept.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I'm going to re-listen to this episode around that spot.
Oh, I love that. Okay. One of the things I'm so like that I'm inspired by your story is that, and it's become even more so just having this conversation is that you clearly had this like creativity that was just like oozing out of you as a child and it wasn't encouraged. And so your programming was like, no, 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 that won't get you a good job. There's no career in that. And so tell me, how did it explode into being your everything and your world and your business?
I think it's interesting. So my parents were they were very creative in a specific way. So
Cool.
it's really cool to look back. So
Yeah.
they were very focused on self-sufficiency,
Mm.
learning how to do things yourself, like never accepting help, very, we can do it, we can figure it out. So there was that ingrained in me, which I didn't really realize at the time. And then we were really encouraged to be creative, but it was more like just fashion. Like it was, they would have thought it was cute what I was doing, like, oh, my little hats and stuff. But it was just kind of like, that's playtime. Like you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
and so as my business, like it's interesting too. So I launched the brand in 2013, but it was very much a hobby for
Mhm.
years. I didn't take it seriously, and I had it registered as a business and everything. But it wasn't until 2019 that I actually took the leap and did it full time. And for a long time, I just thought this isn't going to work, and I again, it was just this idea of like I assume it's not going to work, and then it
Mhm.
got to a point where this is another thing that I feel grateful for. I didn't have a great corporate job that I'd, invested years of schooling and education and experience to get. I was working minimum wage basically. So for me, it when I like took the leap, it was scary still, but I didn't have much to lose in the sense of like, if this doesn't work, I can always go back to retail. So I I think about, the journey of it. It was such a slow burn for so long. And I talked myself out of doing it for so long. And then it was just like, well, why don't I just try it? And as silly as this is, it was like, why don't I do it? Because I know it's going to fail. So why don't I just do this and fail it so then I can do something else? Like, it was like, I just needed to
Love
like,
this.
yeah, like, let's just get this failure out of the way because it's annoying and it's expensive because I keep buying supplies. So like, let's just get this done, and then I'll get serious and I'll figure out my life. Like it was not, I did not start thinking it would work. And I don't recommend anybody starting anything with that mindset, but I just genuinely was like, it was almost like it was this nagging itch. I just had to be like, oh my God, we'll just do it. We'll try it, get it out of the way. And then I'll move on with my life and I'll get serious and I'll figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I love this. What was fascinating for me is now that you've explained your family a little bit more, is that maybe the outcome or the output of how your parents raised you and how they did life was more practical or sustainable or
Yes.
with a focus on conservation or minimalistic living or something like that. And perhaps, but the thinking skills and the being skills were what you've actually used and transferred so beautifully into your business and your output. But even your jewelry is like, it is practical because you can change things over. It's not just like these big, glorious designer, fashion statement pieces that you chuck away after 6 weeks. Like, I feel like there's probably some cool, like, interwoven elements that from your childhood programming that has made your brand what it is today. Does that resonate?
1,000%. That's like exactly what it is. I always say my practical upbringing comes out in my designs. And exactly as you said, things are convertible. You can change the length. Like it's just is a non-negotiable to me and I can't help it. It's just so ingrained. Like it has to have a purpose. Like what is the purpose of this? And then even just, designing in a way that I always say I'm not a trendy brand. I'm much more timeless. And that is also a sustainable component to it. Like I want you to love it for years, not just a season. So it's this sort of holistic approach of, okay, if I'm going to do fashion, I got to make sure it's done in like a very ethical, like sustainable, practical way, which I love that you can view that when you see it. Cause again, that was something that I didn't really realize for a long time until I started seeing the common themes.
Mm-hmm.
What I was designing.
Values, it's just coming through. Yeah. And sometimes we do it unconsciously or subconsciously, and then you reverse engineer it. Like, oh my God, that's from mum and dad, or that's from this or that. And I love that. That's super cool. You said earlier, I want to take us back a little bit, that, and you've mentioned it a few times, you had this like this niggle or this tug of like, you've got to do it. And it sounds like it came up in different ways. And one of them, you were just like, I'm buying all this stuff and accumulating probably all these gemstones and metals, and you're like, my God, I've got a back room full of stuff. But you said as well, maybe I just had a chip on my shoulder as well, that I was meant to be here for something bigger. And so the construct of like inner critic or ego is usually it's fear-based and puts you down. So, and that would be a chip on your shoulder. I'm wondering, was it actually your like soul talking to you, or your true self talking to you, like, Leah, like there's something bigger out there for you?
I think it was a combo. I think I remember when I would see things that I loved or wanted, like I would have this, you know how you get goosebumps from stuff. Like I'm that kind of person. Like I really feel stuff very deeply. And so, excuse me, there is something in me where it's like, I'm not a religious person, and I'm like a tiny bit spiritual, but even that is not fully, but I believe in a little bit of magic. I'll say that. Like I believe there's like a little, and so there is something there. And then the other part for me, the chip on my shoulder thing is something that I don't hear women talk about this as much, but it is this idea of, we all have this light and dark in us, and using that darkness for good. So, the things that I was told that I wouldn't be successful, the people that told me I wouldn't make it, all of those things, like when something difficult happens in my business and I have to get through, I tap into that. It's dark. And I don't stay in that, but I have learned, and this is, I think you have to do the work around it so that you don't get pulled into I don't want to become a bitter, cynical person, so
you don't want to be in shadow all the time.
Exactly. So I've learned to, just use the whole range of emotions that we all have, and that bit of like, I got to prove this person wrong. I will show you how wrong you were. And there is such like that, as much as I'm very much motivated by the beautiful things that I want in this wonderful life, there are some times where it's only the dark stuff that gets you through, you just need that, that the female rage, there is just nothing as powerful. I love it. So I try to, and again, it's sometimes when you explain this, it gets taken out of context or whatever. And I'm not saying this is not malicious behavior. This is all internal. This is just that, you have to, you've got so many stories in your life of who you are and who has shaped you, and you can pull from different parts, and learning to pull from all parts, I think it's healthy. Like I don't know, maybe ask me in 10 years and see how I'm doing, but I do think it's healthy. I think it's good to, we're emotional beings and we're driven by different things, and
Yeah.
using that chip on your shoulder, if you have that. Yeah, but maybe clear it with a therapist first if you're.
Yeah, and I also think, you have to have done a lot of inner work to be able to do it, because it's too easy to, as you say, to spiral into it. Or it's
Yeah.
like anything that you can use like as a motivator, which it sounds like is a driving force in your inner world. It's totally fine as long as you're doing it with intention. But when there's no intention there and it goes into overuse, that's when it can be like, I'm going to take them down because they said that about me. And that's not a healthy use of like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong because I know that I am like, I've got this. And you know what I mean? There's a balancing act, and that takes, I think, quite a lot of self-awareness, either yourself or have a therapist or coach who can like be that mirror for you to be like, think it's gone a little bit too far.
Yeah. And it's all inner. Like this is never
No,
like pushed on something, like nothing. It's all like a mindset game or shift or whatever. There's just times, when you feel like you're kicked down and you have to find that like grit to push you through.
Yeah. Resilience keeps coming up as well, or grit is another way of describing it. Tell me about your journey of like becoming resilient and how that's evolved over time.
It's definitely still evolving.
Yeah.
For a long time, I thought that resilience meant that you never get kicked down. And I've very much changed my view around it. Whereas now it's not that you don't get kicked down, it's that you get back up quickly. And once I learned that, it really helped, because when something happens, like a rejection or a failure, I think it's really important to give yourself time to grieve it and feel bad about it for a second or a day or whatever you need, but then come back. And I think, I for a long time thought that you weren't allowed to have that grieving period. I thought that meant that I wasn't resilient.
Yeah.
So now I allow myself, I don't have a set amount of time, but if it's something that really bugs me, I let myself just feel everything. I'll cry about it. I'll get mad about it. I'll like do a workout. I'll like just really feel angry and disappointed. And then it's like, okay, now what? Like, what's the next thing? And I have found the more I do that, the more they're building blocks, and you just stack it on top, and you're sort of flexing that muscle of like, okay, that sucks. And now what? It's kind of like the improv thing, like yes, and like, you're just always like, okay, that didn't work, on to the next thing. And just constantly trying to move forward, not ignore it, but just constantly try to move on to the next thing. Obviously this is all much easier said than done. There are times when I don't bounce back right away, but it's that coming back, just always knowing that you can come back. Like there's no keeping you down.
Yeah, I love that. And I've heard Manifestation Babe, who's like big in the US. She's talked about that when she gets knocked down, she gives herself a full day just to feel all the feels. But the next morning she's up and she's like, okay, let's clean slate, move forward. Like, which I think is a really cool example of just like giving yourself time to process. And then like integration is like forward moving. There's also an element I see in people I coach, and I know I've done this myself, where an element of where you think you're being resilient, you're actually being avoidant. So you're like, I'm just going to push it aside and keep moving on. But without actually feeling it and processing it, it just creates like, it gets stuck in your emotional and energetic body. And it's like a wound that's going to come up and tap on your door, like, stop knocking on your door. So have you ever used that without realizing? And then or maybe when you were younger, was that a tactic of yours? Or have you always been like a big feeler, like it all comes out and then you move forward?
I think I've always been a big feeler. It all comes out, but I haven't always moved forward.
Like you get stuck in the spiral. Yeah.
So I don't think I'm an avoider. I tend to, like, I was always, growing up, I was always the overly sensitive one. It was always like, oh, here she goes again kind of thing.
And
like
the only girl as well. I'm sure you got that label.
It was brutal. Yeah. And I didn't realize at the time, how that would come out later, because I I really thought there was something wrong with me. And now I feel like, oh my God, I love how sensitive I am. Like, yeah, I feel things very deeply. It doesn't mean I can't handle things. It just means that I'm going to feel it like hard. Like I'll watch a dog food commercial and cry. Like I'm, like I'm going to feel every single thing, but it doesn't mean that I'm weak or that I'm crumbling. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's a very separate thing. So but when I was younger, I had a lot of shame around that. So I would feel things very deeply and then I would get very angry. And I was just a very I was a terrible teenager. I'll say that. I was just a very couldn't handle, just very angry that I felt things so deeply. And then because that was seen as a sign of weakness where I was raised, I felt like, I had to counter that with like, no, I don't actually care. And and try to like overcompensate. And now, I mean, I'm surprised I haven't cried yet in this interview. Like like I have no shame around feeling like I'm very celebratory of people feeling their emotions. And, there's a difference between being like unstable and being like emotionally healthy and that. But I think, we're emotional beings. Like we are all wired to feel things and express that. Like it's a normal thing. It's a very normal thing.
Yeah. Did you, because I'm quite highly sensitive as well. And when I was younger, it wasn't shamed on me, which is good because there's sensitivity in my family. But I didn't learn particularly strong like emotional boundaries. And so I found that even though I was drawn to wanting to help people and coach people, I had a really hard time just like it was all blending and enmeshing, like in terms of what's yours and what's mine. Is that something that you had to work on? And I mean, it's usually a life's work if you're empathetic, because is that something that you've noticed that you do as well, that you might enmesh someone else's feelings or emotions with yours?
I want to say probably. Like I feel like I can't think of a specific example, but that definitely sounds like something I would experience. Like I tend to be I'm very all or nothing, and I tend to be like an oversharer, and I sometimes forget that like I'm not very good with small talk and that kind of thing. So it's sort of, what's your deepest, darkest secret? Like, let's get into it. Like,
that's why we're probably excited about this podcast.
I was thrilled. I was so thrilled. Like, you have no idea. I was so happy. But I'm very open about, I've just come to terms with who I am. And I know I'm not for everybody. I'm very intense. When I love hard.
Yeah.
And that's not for everybody. And that's totally fine. But I think it is sort of knowing that about yourself. I mean, I've definitely learned, like I like to give people space and to share, and I'm very interested in other people, and I want to hear people's stories and that. So I feel like I strike a good balance, but I'm sure that I've overdone it.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I would have done.
Overshare, overdo, overfunction, I'm sure as well.
Over everything.
Over everything. Yeah. I love it. I want to switch gears a tiny bit. This season of Limitless, I'm focusing on connection as one of my core, like top 3 values. So I was curious, what does like real connection look and feel like for you?
I feel like when you don't have to try, like, excuse me, there's people in my life where I didn't really realize. It took me a long time to get friends because I didn't have them growing up, and then I didn't know what that meant. My family's very antisocial. Obviously, we lived on a remote island, like very antisocial. So we didn't have, there was no friends coming over.
You didn't have family friends, or
like a few, but not like very, very rare. That was not like there was no sense of community.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what it looked like for a long time. So there were people in my life that I thought were friends, but I thought that meant that they were people that you had in your life, that you were nice with, that you kind of perform for, like their acquaintances. So, you wouldn't, like this idea of if you're upset, you would never call them. Like that would be so inappropriate to do.
Yeah, very performative.
Yeah, very. And so I didn't know that for a long time. And then when I met, like my best friend now, she is someone who, like, when I'm with her, it is no effort. There is no, like, she just feels like home. Like I feel no pressure to be any kind of version of myself. And in fact, I feel like I can be any version of myself. And same with my partner, Kyle. I just feel like the connection is very safe and just very, like, it just feels there's like a ease to it. That to me is what the connection is. I have other people in my life that I'm not as close with and it's not that comfortable, but I still feel the connection. But like true deep connection for me is that feeling of just like, this feels safe and like home, and like there's nothing expected of me. It is just to be. And I've got a very small circle like that. I'm very lucky that I have lots of wonderful connections and relationships, but I have a very small, like, inner circle. The people that can handle all of the over stuff that I do.
Yeah, I love it. And what about because you sound like you've been on quite the journey of personal development over the last, like, few chapters of your life. How has your, like, connection with yourself and your inner world evolved?
A lot. Like I starting a business, I mean, I always say entrepreneurship is personal development 101. Like, you learn everything you're bad at.
Like it's like rocket fueled.
It's just like you just are faced with everything that you're bad at, but at once. And
all your weaknesses are like, here's a silver platter. Which one would you like to taste today?
It's shocking. Like, it's so revealing, and you can't really hide. Like, you just kind of have to face it. And so for me, that I didn't for a long time. And that's why my brand was kind of just stagnant for a long time. And then once I got into more personal development, it was like, oh, okay, I have to work on stuff to get this done. And what I love about it is that, again, this idea of having a growth mindset or being able to progress, that was so new to me. And once I learned it and could see changes in myself, it was like, holy shit, like this, like, we can change, we can get better, which means that we're limitless. Like it is that, like, we can, it's very exciting when you get that first kind of positive thing. Like, I think about when I first started doing events and I was just such a nervous wreck. Like, my knees were weak. I had to, like, hang on to the table and just to stick, because I just was a mess. And now I love doing it. Like, I'm actually very introverted, so it takes everything, but I love it in the moment when I'm doing it. And I feel very comfortable being there and learning about people and connecting. And that's like a small thing for some people, but for me, like, that is so big. The fact that I can do that now is so big. Like, there was a time where, like, my face was shaking. I couldn't see. Like, I was just a mess. So the fact that I can have a conversation, that, I know that doesn't sound that big to some people listening, but, like, that is huge for me. And so when you see those moments of, like, or just when you watch yourself make a choice that's better for yourself, that's maybe a choice you wouldn't have made before. It's like, oh, that's really cool. Like, that's very encouraging that you can expand and start to honor yourself more. Like, it's very, I don't know, we're fascinating creatures.
We are. And, like, I'm extroverted, but there's certain things around visibility, particularly in my business, that still scared the living daylights out of me as well. So I feel like that what you just shared is resonant for all types of people, because that putting yourself out there and the fear of rejection or not being enough. I mean, these are like core wounds that nearly every human has, unfortunately, just because that's the human experience.
Yeah. Life is hard, man. Like, It's hard. Nobody gets through it unscathed.
No.
Like it's tough out there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What's something that you're working on at the moment that feels like an edge for you that you're like excited but petrified at the same time of facing, but you know once you're over, it's going to be like a big expansion for you?
For me, a big one is collaboration. So pitching to other people that are maybe a little bit out of my bubble. That's always really scary because you're just getting judged on everything, right? And as you should be. It's got to be the right fit. But that's always really scary when you just present an idea and you're just hoping that they see the value in what it is that you're presenting. And every time I do it, it's always really scary. I get very sweaty when I do it. It's very scary, but it's so good to do. And when you get the no, I've also learned that there's different types of no, and sometimes it's no, not now, and sometimes it's no, and it's just not the right fit. And I kind of always expect a no. That is
you help that to like manage the the jarring.
And then when
of
you
it.
get a yes, it's like, oh, that's amazing. But I kind of anticipate like, this is my first no from this person, so I'm just going to get this one out of the way. I'll send this, see what they say. I'll just get that. Great. They said no. Perfect. That means it's one no done. So next time when I follow up, maybe it's the next no. I don't know, but
I love that we've got like different levels because it actually but it makes for those of us who are sensitive and the no feels like big rejection.
Yeah.
It makes it more palatable and you're like, okay, what's that or that? And one of the big no's that I had to work on once I was running my own business, and I think this is probably for people earlier on in business who, when you attach who you are to your like product or service, so your worth is attached to your net worth. And like the no is never to you at a personal level. The no is like, I don't want to do coaching right now, or I don't want jewelry or do a collaboration with you around jewelry. That's another no to make sure you like differentiate between it's not a personal no ever.
Yeah. And you don't always know why people say no. That's something that I learned. Like when I first started email marketing, I used to get really hurt when people that I knew would unsubscribe from my email list, which is so silly, but I would get really hurt. And then I realized like just that week, I had unsubscribed from a brand that I absolutely love, but I unsubscribed because I didn't want the temptation to buy in my inbox. Like that was my reason. It was like, this isn't in my budget right now. I want to stop seeing these emails because I want to buy this so badly. I need to unsubscribe for now. So that's a very positive reason to want to opt out. And so I remind myself, like, you just never know why somebody says no. It could be, we've all got stuff going on. Maybe they just are at their capacity. Like, who knows? There's a million things. So again, it's one of those things that's much easier said than done because rejection always stings.
Yeah.
But we really never know what someone's got going on.
No, totally. And it's an interesting one. Like going back to what we started on, it's like, just be really aware of the stories that you start to make up or tell yourself about things that you don't actually know why it was a no, because that's when most of us actually get stuck and waste a lot of time. And we don't mean to, but we do because we're like hypothesizing on all these stories.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you actually ask them, they're probably like, oh, no, I'm just like going away on it for the next 6 months and I won't be buying any new clothes. And you're like, oh, okay.
But I'd created a whole story around this.
Multiple chapter books about why you said no.
Oh, it's so easy to spiral. It is so easy.
It's so easy. And then I love to use humor in my coaching and in these conversations because like, it's good to have a laugh at yourself because we all do it. Like no one's immune. No one got off. Like when we were born, no one got the like, oh yeah, you won't spiral. You won't make stories up about stuff that you have no idea about and waste a day, you know.
No one is safe.
No one gets a free ticket in this life. It's just the wonderful journey of being a human. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. So one final question and then we'll go into some rapid fire.
Okay.
So transformation often happens in these like small or intentional steps. And it's micro movements rather than these like huge quantum leaps that usually unlock change or sustainability for us in our inner world. Based on your journey, Leah, what's one small step or tip or action that our listeners could take away today to unlock their limitless potential?
I have two. Can
Go
I
for
say
it.
two? Okay.
Yeah, please
So
do.
the first one is just to start, because like start before you're ready, because
Yes.
every single thing I've ever done in my business or in my life, I wish I had started sooner. Like everything. And I cannot tell you how important that is, because sometimes you'll start something and then you learn it's not the right thing right away. But the sooner you start, the quicker you learn.
Yeah.
Right. And like I used to put things off thinking like, oh, it's going to take so much time to learn about it and blah, blah, blah. And one time I did this, there was this software that I wanted to learn and I put it off for so long that the software became obsolete. And it was just like, I mean, in the end, I guess it was good that I didn't try and learn it, but it's ridiculous to just start. And it's, again, so easy to say, but no one's watching you that closely. You can start, and if it doesn't work, no one's going to know. And you learn so much by just doing it. Then I used to read all the books and watch all the YouTube videos, listen to all the podcasts, but not take any action. And I couldn't understand why my life wasn't getting better. And then I realized, oh yeah, I have to actually do the thing and not just learn about how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. The second one is more practical, exercise. I know this is like a simple thing, but for me, I mentioned that I had mental health challenges, and it is, I joke at home that when I exercise, that's me taking my meds. Like it is so important. And not only for our physical being and all that, it's that promise that you're making to yourself that you said you're going to do it and you do it. And it's that little like ritual that you do where you are choosing. It doesn't have to be like, for me, I'll do sometimes like 10 minutes. Like it's not, this is not saying you should be like going to the gym, whatever. I don't go to a gym. I'm introverted. I work out at home. I keep it very short, but it's my non-negotiable that I do it consistently enough, because when I don't, my whole life starts to deteriorate.
Yeah.
So for me, that's exercise. That for someone else, that might be something else that they do, but find that thing that you have complete control over, that you set the schedule, you set your dosage that you're doing, and you stick to it and keep that promise to yourself. Because I have nothing has changed my life more than my mental state, more than that. And my confidence and my ability to handle difficult things. If you by just forcing yourself to do it. Like I hate exercise, but I know that I have to do it. I know that it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah. Well, and it's
so those are
every
my two.
time you do it, what you set committed to yourself or the promise to yourself, you're like, I always say you're putting coins or depositing in your self-trust. Like, I believe in me.
That.
But when you don't, you pull it out and you put it into like self-abandonment. Like I'm giving my time to somebody else or something else. And so, and that really erodes your connection to yourself. The one thing that I love about exercise or other like body-based stuff is that it gives your brain and your mind a break, right? So if you're like a high-functioning person, which you would be, and you've always got ideas or you're always thinking or always organizing, always strategizing, without a lot of the time, it's subconscious. But if you go into exercise with like, I'm also doing this to give my brain and mind a break and like really feel into my body, which it sounds like you're like sensory as well. That's really powerful as well when you add that intention of like, I'm just giving my mind a break so I can just like get into my body, and it helps process stuff that's stuck. And
absolutely. I'm a big walker. That's something that I love doing. And I feel like I have to, it just helps me process things. Like I've got my studio I can walk to, and it's that, I walk there and walk home, and it's just that mental, it's exactly like you said, it kind of quiets everything for a second.
Totally.
Like it's very therapeutic.
It does. And it also allows emotion and energy that might be stuck in your subconscious in your body actually to surface, so you can like let it go or process it rather than it getting stuck, and that becomes, work in the future, as you and I know.
It'll come back to get you.
Let's do some rapid fire.
Okay.
Leah, what is your superpower?
Oh. I make people feel good. I know how to make people feel good about themselves.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. What's a part of yourself that you used to hide, but now you lead with it, or something that really makes you who you are today?
My sensitivity, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
The overness of everything.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And what's a misconception that people often have about you?
I think people think I'm snobby sometimes, because I unfortunately have a resting bitch face. And I used to not wear my glasses, and so I would squint a lot. And I think people thought that I was like quite nasty. And I have learned to like change how I appear.
Yeah. And also, I know it's a something that happens with introverts as well, because extroverts like me are very like,
yes.
I used to do a lot of non-verbals that I'm listening, I'm engaged, whereas you might just be like,
totally. And when I did events, I would always reserve my energy to talk to customers, and so I wouldn't talk to my neighbors much. And now I talk to everybody because it's very important. But like I thought that that's what I should do because I have to keep to myself. And I think I had a bit of a reputation of like being a bit standoffish. And I'm not at all. But I think it was I think that was a me problem
or an awareness thing. That's really cool. Yeah. When you hear the word limitless, the name of this podcast, what are like 3 words or feelings that are evoked for you?
It sounds very exciting. I think about progress and resiliency.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. And finally, last question, Leah. If you're having a bit of a down day or spiraling, is there a song that you like to put on that you know will instantly lift your like vibration and your mood?
Oh my God, you know what? I don't have a song, but I listen to a lot of very like bro-y business podcasts, which I know is not for everybody, but sometimes I just need like that, the hustle culture, all that stuff where it's just very black and white. I know there's problems within that culture, but that I find can kind of ground me of like, oh yeah, that's right. Just like focus on the work, get the work done.
Well, when you're like in the sphere of creativity and color and you know what I mean, design and unknown, sometimes the structure and the strategy is like very grounding. So I can see why that works. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I need someone to just like tell me to get my shit together. Like just like I just sometimes need that. Like get over yourself, get going, and it's like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh, Leah, I'm so grateful that you came on Limitless today. I've absolutely loved this conversation on so many levels. So thank you for your time and thank you for sharing your story with everyone so openly.
Thank you, Fiona. This was like a mini counseling session. I feel this was so wonderful. Thank you so much. And you are such a good interviewer. I love these questions. I love getting right into it and having like real conversations about stuff. This was the highlight of my day.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for tuning in to Limitless. If you enjoyed today's episode and love hearing the stories of courageous cycle breakers, I'd be grateful if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your feedback not only helps others discover the show, but it also amplifies our mission to unlock emotional freedom and true potential. Every review makes a difference in helping more people embrace their limitless life.